Now our approach is, yes, here is a problem of modern slavery, and the largest one by far. Even with the UN figure of 28 million modern slaves around the world today, they admit 60% are in India. So by far this is the largest thing. So you go and get involved with them, and you love them because you're a Christian. Love them unconditionally. We don't love them because, oh, you have to become Christian. No, we love them because our God is a God of justice, truth, and mercy. We love them. Well, when they see that love and when they see what Christ is, many of them want to follow Christ. And at that point, it starts turning things upside down because they don't want to be slaves. And Ambedkar himself has told them, you won't find freedom in the system you are. Get out. So it's not just us, it's whole of history working and saying, get out and free. Of course, when they are freed, their women are now employed and they work and they take small loans and they have dignity, they dress well, they're no more serving the upper caste landlords in their fields free of charge, or they're not being sexually exploited. And a Dalit child getting education in English, which is the language of power. Of course, there is tension, and then, of course, the attack and persecution.
But this is amazing about the gospel of Jesus, because I can see how, what motivates you, Joseph, but how Dalits can just receive this, because Jesus did the same thing in his day. You know, he actually was one who was a champion for the children and for women, and the message of there's no male or female, you know, slave or free. So I can see how that message can be so hopeful and freeing for the Dalits when you bring that message to them.
Yes, absolutely. And that there is a God who is concerned about justice and freedom, and that he cares enough. And there are enough stories in the Bible to show how God gets up when great evil is going on and says, you know, I'm going to stop this. Whether it's the children of Israel being lifted from the land of Pharaoh, or it's the Samaritan woman that Jesus reaches out to. Stories abound in Scripture where God is not a God of inaction, but he's a God who loves justice, mercy, and reconciliation. It's part of the gospel of the kingdom.
Yeah. But Dr. D'Souza, moving into Acts, we've got Paul going into communities and messing with the status quo and their local gods, and you know, I think God of Artemis and all these things, and he'd usually end up stoned or jailed, and persecution is part of what these Dalits face once they come to Christ.
Yeah, and that's been the problem in Orissa. We have had very bad couple of years in Orissa. I mean, this recent persecution of last year, 50,000 plus people displaced. We were in the middle of all of this. Hundreds butchered and killed, homes being destroyed, churches being burned. It's nothing but religious, ethnic cleansing of Dalit and tribal Christians by people who do not want them to be freed. And they cannot understand why these Dalits freely love Christ and are moving to Christ. There are many reasons, but one fundamental reason is these people have been spiritually thirsty for more than 2,000 years. You know, they have not been allowed into religious places saying, God doesn't love you, God doesn't care for you, God doesn't want you. And they have been thirsting, and now they hear about a God who loves them and wants to embrace them. Of course, their spiritual hunger of 2,000 is exploding. And of course, when they turn and their lives change, they're empowered, they're not part of the same thing again, then the persecution. And we have campaigned hard and long. We had a special rapporteur from the UN come out and see, and she has commented on it. And the local government, you know, initially was pathetic, did not respond. We had to move the central government, we had to move the local government. Even after all of these months, 4,000–5,000 people are still homeless. Some have moved away, and the attacks have been absolutely brutal. And the global church has to pray, get involved, and see, okay, how do we reach out to our brothers and sisters? For me, it's a very, very sad thing.
You were in Ottawa yesterday. Can you tell us Anything hopeful?
Oh yeah, a great milestone. I mean, we've been carrying this campaign and taking it to the UN, the European Parliament, and yesterday was the beginning of our voice in Canadian Parliament. The Human Rights Committee heard. I testified. We had a great 1-hour session. They asked all the tough and the good questions, and it's part of parliamentary record now. Just as few years ago, for the first time in Congress in the US, it became part of the records, and I believe some MPs in Parliament want to now move a motion and to look at the whole issue of Dalit trafficking and slavery and all. Big day.
Good. One person can make a difference. You know, that I'm looking at this going, how do you keep going as you, I mean, obviously you see so much pain and so much distress, and then you see the hopefulness, and then you see the attacks on Orissa. I mean, what keeps you going? And
because your family has been under attack as well, personally.
Yeah, there is threat and there's a lot of hate mail, and the internet chatter on this is terrible against us. But I'll tell you what keeps me going. That one girl who walks up, was a pipe college girl, comes up, is graduating, takes a certificate, and says, I want to be a cardiosurgeon. If it was just for that one girl, forget about all the tens of thousands. There are over 15,000 kids. We're going to do 100 and then 1,000 schools. If it was just for that one girl, it would have been worth it. And that's the motivation, you know, Christ's motivation that comes in.
We compared the work that you were doing to William Wilberforce earlier, and his fight was his whole life. It was years and years before he saw any results. Do you think in your lifetime you are going to see 3,000 years of slavery in India overturned?
I believe that in my lifetime, we are going to dismantle Dalit discrimination.
Hallelujah.
All right.
that's amazing.
Wow, we're behind you. Anything we can do to make a difference.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
amazing.
people, if they want to just find out more about what you are doing, how they can get involved, we want to have your contact information come up on the screen, your website, dalitfreedom.net. There it is. If someone goes onto your website, what will they find there?
They'll find quite a lot of options, but free one of the Dalit boys and girls who are potential targets for trafficking. 2, become a voice. Christians, you know, around the world don't realize how powerful truth is. Just to speak out.
Truth.
Yeah.
You know, just to speak out and say that this is not right, this is wrong, and it has its own power to undo evil. So we want people to get involved in that, and there are a host of others, you know, get involved in freeing women and the women's empowerment stuff. Come and see what God is doing and what we are doing, and be part of this.
All right, and we encourage you to do that, to visit their website there. Well, when we get back, you're not going anywhere, because we will be talking further with Dr. D'Souza, and Cheryl will introduce us to an organization reaching out to women in India's sex trade. Once again, we want to advise you that this material would not be appropriate for younger children.